Hello, everyone, and welcome to the real estate market analysis for San Jose for May of 2023. This is an opportunity for us to sort of sit back, take a look at the numbers, see where we've been, and see if we can't project where we might be going. So it's been an interesting month. May is a big deal. April and May are both a big deal. We typically see April and May as the peaks of the season in terms of the most robust, tending to get the best prices, etc. So everything should be downhill from here. So this is us defining the high bar theoretically for the year of 2023. So let's go ahead and jump in. But before we do, let me introduce myself. My name is Robert Whitelaw. I'm a licensed real estate broker right here in Santa Clara County. If you would like to discuss buying or selling real estate, I'm happy to help you in any way I can. You can reach me at soldbyrobert.com. You can also find some great tools there for buyers and sellers to get an instant home valuation, to start your home search, whatever tools you need. You'll be able to find them there. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at what we have. Now, let's start, as we always do, with the total number of active listings. And that just means how many homes were on the market for buyers to choose from. How many different homes did you have to choose from as a buyer? For sellers, that's how much competition was there versus my house in terms of the total number of homes out there in the market. Not a big change from April to May. 486 in May of 2023. April of 2023, 488. So given the size of San Jose and the sheer number of homes, that's kind of a stunner that we've seen such flat performance. And what's even more interesting is that's been kind of what's going on since December. We haven't seen a dramatic jump in active listings, which is a bit of a surprise. But if we look at last year of May of 2022, we can see that number was almost twice that. It was 874 homes on the market, and that's a drop of 44%. So a very substantial drop off. And the other thing that goes with this is, with this very small inventory, if we were to freeze the inventory where it is right now and we sold the same number of homes in May moving forward with the current inventory, we would sell off that inventory in less than a month. That's what that MOI is. That's months of inventory. Less than a month, 0.9 months of inventory. And that's an interesting number, because if we were to see substantial changes in things like interest rates that would draw more buyers into market, we would instantly be in a multi-offer situation, which would give us homes selling for well above asking price. And we are tending to see in San Jose, we'll see in a future slide how that's being affected. But on average, sales prices are low or have gone down from the same time last year. So we'll check that number as well as we move along. But let's go ahead and move on next to the total number of new listings. These are homeowners who decided to become sellers in the month of May and put their homes on the market. We saw 691 homes go on the market in May of 2023, a peak since the year started. I mean, for 2023, that's the peak. It's 30% down from the same time last year, which was 982. If we try to project where we're likely to go from here in May of 2022, it was at 982, but that wasn't the peak last year. The peak was March. And remember, last year in March is when the interest rates rose. So folks that listed in March may not have been aware of rates about to change, that type of thing. So we do tend to see in quote unquote normal markets the increase in listings beginning in March. But between May and June of last year, we saw a decrease, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see a decrease in the total number of listings in June of this year as well. As I said, down 30% from the same time last year. And in terms of projections, it should just go down from here. If we look at last year, once we got past May of last year, it just kept going down all the way till December of 2022. So I would expect the same thing to happen this year. Total number of homes sold. Last year, the number in May of 2022 was 748 homes. This year, it's 558. That's a 25% drop from that same time last year. But it is an increase from April. Now, if we look at April and May of last year, we can see a reverse relationship. We kind of peaked in April in terms of total number of homes sold. And then the decline started with another bit of an uptick in August and September of last year, with then a decline all the way to January of 2023. What can we expect from here? And remember, March was that pivotal month. We've talked about that before, where interest rates rose. So everything after March is tending to be more dominated by those crazy interest rates. My guess would be that we start to see a decline in the total number of homes sold. We may get another boost in August and September. But if we do, my guess it's going to be a weak one. I don't think it will be a strong boost. It was a pretty strong boost last year, but I don't think we'll get that this year. We'll see if that ends up being the case, but my on-the-ground experience indicates to me that we probably won't see that. Pending sales. Now, this is one where we try to look into the crystal ball a little bit, at least by a month. Pending sales are down 13%. Last year, on May of 2022, we had 671 homes that went pending, meaning they accepted an offer. That's really what pending means. What happens is when a home gets an offer that they accept, where the seller accepts it, the status of the home changes on the MLS from either pending or contingent. Usually it's contingent because those first 14 days usually includes a time period in which the buyer can do their inspections and back out of the deal without any penalty if they get an inspection they don't like. So that's what this represents, the total number of homes where the status changed from active to either pending or contingent. Because sometimes the buyer will make an offer that has no contingencies, right? No inspection contingencies. Maybe the seller's provided all the inspections they would have done. So maybe it goes right to pending right off the bat. Or the home just changed to pending, right? Its inspection period changed or expired and we got to pending. And we can see this number has been steadily increasing since December. And remember, this is a leading indicator of what we should expect for sold homes for the following month. And we sort of have these side by side. Now it's down 13% from the same time last year. We had 584 in May of 2023, 671 in May of 2022 for a 13% decline from the same time last year. But let's take a look at a comparison graph here of sold and pending. Pending is green, sold is blue. Look at how they've kind of merged here. We had very flat performance between March and April. If we look at March and April, we had kind of a crossover, right? In March, we had pending homes exceeding sold homes in the month of March, and then making sense, we suddenly had a increase in solds in April, which makes sense. And then we had a decline in pendings, which was then reflected in continuing declines in solds into June. And then we saw a bit of an uptick in July and August. If we're expecting to anticipate what's going to happen next month, we can see that the number of homes pending did increase in May. So my guess, and it increased at a greater rate than the solds did, right? So since they're very much on par with each other between March and April in terms of the difference between those two values, my guess is we'll see an uptick in the total number of homes sold next month. Assuming that it'll jive like that. Remember, this is a little bit more fudgy because it can take 30 to 45 days on average to get a home closed based on what financial people are asking for. Most of the lenders that I work with, or the financial folks my clients are working with, will ask for a 45-day close just to make sure that they have the elbow room to get all the paperwork done and everything they need done to get that loan to go through. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at original list price. This is the price that sellers had in their head at the time they listed the home. So this is what the list price of the home was when it was entered in the MLS for the very first time. It does not reflect any changes in prices that happened after the original listing, just that expectation number, because that's what we want to look into. We want to get a feeling for where were sellers' heads at in San Jose in May of 2023. And in general, they were kind of on the money. They were only 0.8% higher than last year. If you have watched some of my past videos on this, you know that in many cases, we were seeing double-digit expectation increases. In other words, sellers putting their homes on average on the market for 10% more than it was last year. With this drop down to 0.8, things are far better calibrated. And what that will ultimately result in is fewer homes needing to be reduced in terms of list price down the road. Last year, in May of 2022, the average original list price was $1,411,000. This year, May of 2023, it's $1,422,000. So an $11,000 difference. Given these prices, it's not a huge change. It's not a huge difference. And numbers have been relatively flat for the last few months. If we look at last year between, say, May and June, we saw a little bit of an uptick. Given what we're seeing in numbers in terms of percent over, and these are the numbers we're going to cover here in a minute, given the numbers, what we're seeing in terms of over or under asking price, it wouldn't surprise me if we see a bit of an uptick in average sales price next month, but I'm not going to bet a whole lot on that. I'm kind of on the fence on that. It would either be relatively flat or it'll be a little bit more, is my guess, between May and June of 2023. Next, this is the actual sales price. What did the home actually sell for? Now, I apologize. I mistakenly did not put the right color on the last column because remember, with these charts, what we're trying to do is on the far right, do the year over year comparison between May of this year to May of last year. And then everything to the left of that far right is just us looking over our shoulder at what prices have been doing. We can see that in May of 2022, $1,529,000 what was the average sales price last year. That's down 9%, and this year it's 1,392,000. Now, what's interesting about that is not only is it 9% below what it was a year ago, but it represents about a $31,000 difference between expectations, between what sellers were expecting to get and what they actually got on average. And that is actually not horrible. In terms of communities, in terms of cities being calibrated to what they're listing their home for versus what they're actually getting on average, San Jose was sort of on the mark, or the closest to it. Santa Clara County saw a difference of $65,000, almost $66,000. Morgan Hill saw a staggering $355,000 difference between expectations and what they actually got. Folks in Gilroy were actually getting $82,000 more than what they were listing their home for, what their original expectations were. So there's definitely some variation in here, but in terms of being closest to what the averages are, San Jose is more on the market than other communities have been. Where do I expect this number to go? My guess is average sales price will go up a tick next month, but again, not a lot. Things have been relatively flat for March, April, and May. And if we look at last year, March, April, and May, that's what encases the peak, right? From March to June is sort of the peak with a decline that sort of continues all the way on until the new year. So my guess is this month and possibly next month, maybe by a little, are going to represent the plateau of average sales price with a steady decline all the way until we hit 2024. Percent of list price. A 100% number means that on average, people got their asking price. This year, right now, in San Jose, we saw in May of 2023, sellers getting 104.6%. So getting 4.6% over asking price. Now, there's a lot of implications that come along with that. When you're getting that much over asking price, that implies that there are an awful lot of homes selling for over asking price to the tune of 4.6%. Last year, that number was 111.8, so 11.8% over asking price, but it is down overall 7.2% over the year. If we look, and that's also the trend here is not difficult to spot. Again, March, April, the peaks, May, still pretty high last year, but then a steady decline from May all the way until we hit November, December, and January. That is likely what's going to happen here. So my guess is we will be back below 100% within the next 2 or 3 months in San Jose, simply because that's what tends to happen in our local marketplaces. All right, next, total days on market. This is how long it took homes to get sold on average. We can see that the number was 18 days for May of 2023. Last year, it was 11 days in May of 2022 for a 64% increase when compared to the same time last year. And again, another number that's not hard to spot. We can see that between March, April, May, June, relatively flat performance, and then starting to increase, taking longer for homes to get sold, given the dynamics of what we're seeing. But we are seeing very low inventory, so that may play into this and extend this out a bit more. We may see below 20 days leading into even as far as July of this year. My guess is it'll be super close, though, since we're already at 18 days right now. So my guess is from here, we start to see increases. We'll be over 20 within 1 or 2 months, and then it'll peak in between November and January of November of 2022, or November of 2023 and January of 2024, but it will just ramp up from the May-June timeframe. Price reductions. These are the total number of homes that reduced their price in May of 2023 in San Jose. Last month, that number was at 17%. It went up to 19% in May. And I think that that's a reflection of sellers who had previously priced their home out of whack. We talked about how that number was kind of crazy in past months. So this is a reasonable expectation that we'd see an uptick in the number of homes that reduce their price. Despite the fact we have super low inventory, we still have some homes that are overpriced in the marketplace. Wouldn't surprise me if this number actually goes up a bit in coming months. But this is a scenario where if realtors are giving their clients good advice, we really need to try to be competitive in the market right now, because we already have super low numbers of buyers out there in the marketplace, but we have the highest number of buyers we're likely to get this year. So if you need to get sold before the end of the year, we need to act now to attract buyers. So hopefully those are conversations that are going on out there. Now, if you'd like to find out the value of your home, I have a great tool out there where just the tip of the iceberg is finding out the estimated value of your home, which you'll get immediately. There's no interaction with me or any other real estate people required. You just go to the website, soldbyrobert.com. On the left-hand side at the top, you just enter your address. And while you will get that great home value estimate. You're also going to get a ton of other tools to analyze your equity, figure out how you might take advantage of it. Get a tool that tells you whether or not it makes sense to refinance based on real numbers out there right now, and it connects you directly with someone who can manage the lending for you. It's an excellent tool. It lets you do a lot of what-if scenarios relating, should I rent my home? Should I refinance? Should I tap my equity for something? Gives you how much buying power you potentially have. It's a great tool, so let me suggest you check that out. If you don't like it, just unsubscribe from it, but it's something I'm offering to my clients for free. All right, the goal is to always leave you with more knowledge on the table than I take up in your time. Absolutely hope we've achieved that today. Thanks again for listening, everybody. I'll talk to you all next time.